folks, welcome to another night of ImagingJupiter and Saturn. Actually, we're going to do it in the reverse order, Saturn and Jupiter, and I hope that we are given a good dose of seeing conditions that are acceptable. Last night I did some imaging, and seeing was pitiful early in the evening, but by midnight it really picked up well, and then the clouds came. So what we're going to do tonight, and I need to do something real quick here, and that is change cameras so I don't have to bend my head. And so tonight we're going to go on outside, and I'll show you what's cooking. Let's bring up our surveillance camera and turn it on. And we're using the Smith Cassegrain. It has a and it's an 8-inch. It's about 200 and it's 2000, I think, 32 millimeters, and then I have a 2.5 Teleview Pyramate. That's it's like a Barlow, and it multiplies the focal length by 2.5. So we've got a pretty good reach. You see the star. Well, it's not a star, it's actually Jupiter, and that's what we're imaging. It actually doesn't look like it's aimed at it. It may not be, but I just did slew to Jupiter, and so hopefully it's on it. Sure doesn't look like it though. And I'm using a ZWO 224 color camera, and my intention tonight was not to use that camera, but to put the 174 on it. That's a mono camera, and use RGB filters. You do gather a lot more data that way, but I was doing solar imaging earlier today, and I'm going to do solar imaging again tomorrow morning, and so I just left it on. The 174 currently is on the solar kit, which is the one furthest away that's all covered up. I just covered that one up. So let's head over to we don't want that laptop. Let me bring that back up. Oh, by the way, might as well look at this. This is WinJuPost, and I'm using one of the tools that's called the ephemerides, which is a long term that pretty much tells you what's going on with Jupiter and its moons at any given time over the next 200-300 years, if you want to go out that far. But right now at 3:30 Universal Time, which should be 11:30 our time, since we are 4 hours behind Universal Time, we should have the red spot, the great red spot, in view. Actually, let's back up. At 2:50 Universal Time, which is going to be about 11:10, I guess it's going to be visible for us. So, or 11:50 or 10:50. So at any rate, we're going to be giving it a go, and let's see what happens. I want to go outside now to the laptop that's currently working. I'm using this planetary software that's installed on the outside laptop, and as you can see, we have the scope is on Saturn, and let's take a look and see if it actually is, and it is. So here is Saturn, centered in the software program called SharpCap, and I use SharpCap over Fire Capture because I'm more familiar with it. That's the only reason. And if I had grown up on, when I say grown up, if I had started out using Fire Capture that would be the one I would probably be the most comfortable with. But right now I can see that you don't have Saturn, so let's go there. And I can also tell that you didn't have Saturn a while ago when I went outside. And I'm going to do that real quick again. Apologize. Here we are outside, and here's the Smith-Cassegrain, and there's Jupiter. And so, not Jupiter, Saturn. So this is what we are currently imaging, and that's the Smith-Cassegrain with the 2.5 power mate right here, and then the ZWO 224 camera. It's on an Atlas Pro AZEQ mount. So let's go back out to Saturn, and we can get by taking frames for 3 minutes, but I'm going to limit the time period to 2 minutes. So I'm going to go to capture. I'm going to go to start capture, and I'm going to stop here for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and name this Saturn, and then we're going to go back to make sure I've got the right okay, we got a directory for 82321. Okay, good. I want to make sure that my AVI files are not going to be stored on my laptop. There's not enough room. So I have an external SD drive that's 1 terabyte that will be saving these files to. So let's go back to capture. We're going to have a start capture. I'm going to, I was doing a time lapse on the sun earlier today, but I'm going to set a time limit for 2 minutes. And I'm going to do 20. Actually, let's do 20 different AVI files, and we'll make several different stacks. The problem with our planets is that they rotate, and so in order to preserve the detail, you have to kind of limit the amount of time for each stack, and then you can derotate if you don't over exceed that. Derotate these images, and that product I showed you earlier, ImagingJupiter, which is I'll take you back there again because I realized you couldn't see it. This is ImagingJupiter, and this is the tool that I'm using, the Ephemerides tool. And at 250 universal time, and subtract 4 from that, and I think that'll be 1050 our time, the great red spot's going to come into view, and it'll move across the surface. Let's see if we're going to have any moons transiting Jupiter. Let's just kind of advance this. Nah. And the transit will last until 6:30. So let's go to real time, and right now we've got Jupiter, and we've got Callisto, which is a moon that should be in view. And so let's head back out there now where all the action is, and bring up our other laptop. There it is. And let's go ahead and start. Let me do one thing though real quick. Let me raise my exposure up some. Let me cancel this and raise exposure up some. I was hoping the moon would be in my field of view, but it's not. Okay, so that's about as good as we can do there. Okay. Alright, let's go back to capture and let's get it going. Start capture, and let's start. I'm going to go ahead and take my crosshairs and put them back. Actually, I want to stop the capture. I don't want that stop capture here. Can't stop it. Just pause it. Alright, I want to go. It won't let me do anything until I stop. And cancel. It's just not going to let me do it. Alright, I'm going to shut this down. Yep. I'm going to go back to PhD2 and make sure we're guiding, and we are. Okay, I want to go bring up Sharp Cap again. It was acting up on me, so I'm going to have to start it back up. Guiding's terrible, so I know the scene's going to be as bad for early on, but I'm going to go ahead and take pictures anyway. Alright, let's connect the camera. There we are, and now let's change our field of view into 648 by 488. Okay, that'll increase our frame rate some, and let's go down to 350. Let's bring this up to, I'm looking at my histogram down here, about right there. Alright, let's now go to capture, and let's make sure we got the same. Nope, we don't. We want to go to a time limit. We want to go to 2 minutes. We want to take 20, and we don't want any interval between captures. And let's take let's get it going. So we're off and running. And down here you can see where we're capturing we're not going very quickly here. We're at 22 frames per second, which is horrible. It's very slow. And let's see here. We have frame rate at maximum, turbos auto, high speed, ding dong. Okay, that didn't change anything. Hardwind binning. And just keep that off. We're not going to flip. And I'll just have to raise the, in order to increase my frame rate, I'm going to have to raise the gain, which I hate to do because it introduces so much noise. And I do know that post-processing manages the noise pretty well, but I think let's see how many frames I get in this period of time, and I'll process one and see how good it is. Let this one finish. Actually, while I go, I'm going to have to delete a couple of them. Here, Saturn, we're going to delete all those. Alright, this next one is a for real one. kind of paying attention to how this wobbles. If it's holding its position partially because the mount's tracking and I'm using guiding at the same time, but I have an atmospheric dispersion filter attached, which helps, but it doesn't eliminate. It doesn't make good scene out of bad scene. And I need to go out and fiddle with it because I've got some blue. I've got some unwanted color that's showing up on this. I'll just deal with it. But I'm going to go ahead and do this stack, and I'm going to process it and see if I can manage to get any decent data out of it. From my perspective, hello Xavier, I see you out there again. From my perspective, the fun's in doing it, and of course I want good data, but I'm really hoping tonight that by the time Jupiter, the great red spot starts streaking across Jupiter, that I've got a better scene. It will be a little cooler out, not a lot, but a little cooler out. It's in the high 70s right now, and muggy. Of course, that has very little to do with the atmosphere, but PhD's going to bring this back. Had a spike in guiding. And so we got one of them done, so let's open that up and see what we got. We're going to open up a program called Stackard, and we're going to go down to our external drive, which is the E drive, and we're going to click on it's going to be capture, and we're going to click on that, actually that one, and let's sort of scrub through this and see if we see any okay, let's take that one, and we want to go planet, dynamic background, check Laplace, local, auto size. I gotta double check these settings because I changed them for solar. And so I'm going to, the way I interpret this quality graph, I'm not sure I'm absolutely positive, but all this data here just represents the individual frames in this movie file, an AVI file, and this line going down the middle horizontal line is at 50%. So those frames above this are quality-wise better than the frames below this line. So ideally, my best frames, and by best frames I mean the ones that have the greatest clarity and detail, they're the ones probably above this line here, which is at the 3/4 level. So you can see there's not that many out of the 3,000 that I took that are above that level. So also, this is not a linear line, but it is intersecting with the 50% line about here, and which is about 75% of the frames. So it's telling me that 75% of these frames are above the line and 25% are below the 50% line. That being the case, I could keep 75%, but I'm really going to just hone in on the best, so I'm going to keep 40%, and I'm going to go over here and set up alignment points on Saturn. You can do it manually by clicking, or you can use automatic grid placement by clicking here, and so I've done that, and we'll add a few more on the outside edges, and let's see, we're going to keep 40%. I do not want to sharpen. Everything else is fine, so let's go ahead and stack this. And while we're stacking, we can peek at Saturn. This is a live view of Saturn coming to you from my backyard in Spartanburg, South Carolina, USA. We're using Stackard, the software, which is free, although Emil does ask for a donation, which is more than fair. Okay, we're finished with this. Close that out. Now let's bring up Registacks, and that's the next step in tweaking, and from there I usually take it into Photoshop. But I don't go into Photoshop until I'm finished for the night, and then I bring the hard drive inside and I use the Photoshop that I have on my large computer. In fact, it's the computer I'm sitting at right now. I'm inside and all my equipment obviously is outside, and I'm communicating with my outside laptop via a program called Splashtop. Okay, let's go to a folder that has these images, and it's going to be S drive here, capture, and right here. So this is the first of those. We don't want to stretch it, and let's click on show full image. So it's stacked okay. First thing I'm going to do is color balance, and I'm going to use the auto color balance. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I don't really like the way the Saturn is sitting, so I'm going to flip it. A little more this way. Yeah, I'll come back a little bit this way. Let's leave it there. Okay, so we've reoriented our image. Then I want to go to histogram. I'm going to brighten it some, and I'm going to pull the pixels over here to about not too far there, and I'm going to click auto stretch. I'm going to probably do a little more. When I move this, you're going to see that this also is moving along with it. There it went. So we're going to stretch it again. So we've brightened it up a bit. We're going to add some contrast with a curve. Normally I do this in Photoshop, but this is a pretty sweet curve. I'm going to right click here. I'm going to right click here, and I'm going to drag this down just a tad, and I'm going to bring this up just a tad, and maybe down a little more. Okay, I like that. Okay, now we're going to go over and we're going to add these wavelets, and my settings are default settings 1 and 0, and these sliders you adjust the strength, and from my understanding each of these sliders works on different structures in your image. This works on the finer structures all the way to the larger structures. So, and it's kind of incrementally making adjustments to structures from real fine to larger structures. So you can also denoise or help to manage the noise in the image with these wavelets by clicking on an up arrow to help remove noise. Because when you start the sharpening effect, which is what's going to happen when you start moving these sliders, you're going to induce some noise, and so you're going to want to mitigate that somehow. And so you can help manage each all your noise issues there. So and you can add some sharpening, but I would advise not to overdo the sharpening on here. From my experience, sometimes it looks pretty good in this image, and by the time I take it into Photoshop, I can see where I went too far with it. So I have several schemes that I saved, and I have an aggressive Saturn, and then I have just a regular Jupiter, and I'm going to just use the, well, let's go aggressive Saturn. Let's just see what it does. And I really don't like how the RGB balanced this, but a lot of that's to do with I think I don't like the colors, so I'm going to have to make these colors work somehow, and I'll probably do that in Photoshop. But that will be our first Saturn image, and that's taken with just 2,000, 3,000 frames. I forgot how many we're getting. We're getting about 3,000 frames at 22 frames a second, and I'm keeping, I think, 40%. So I'm keeping about 800 to 900 frames and stacking those. So there's our first Saturn, and let's I'm going to go ahead and save, do a do all, which will apply everything we've done, and I'm going to save this. And what I'm going to do is add to the file name underscore and then reg for Registacks, and that way I'll know that this file has had the wavelets applied, and we can go ahead and put that down. We're back out live imaging Saturn, and I'm not sure how much we've done, so let's go take a look. Right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Saturn AVI files that are roughly 2,800 frames each. And remember, if all of them are about the same, they're going to be in the neighborhood of 40% kept and managed. So then we'll take about 3 minutes worth and derotate them, and or 6 minutes worth and derotate them, and take about 5 files and derotate those and into a stack. We'll see what we have. So we can go ahead and just keep an eye on Saturn. It's just so amazing that we can sit here in our homes with our telescopes being controlled by way of the internet, Wi-Fi, and enjoy seeing everything from deep space, nebula and galaxies, to planets. And the hobby just never ceases just to floor me. I'm 76 years old, and I still am in awe every time data starts coming in. You realize how far away these objects in the sky are, and lights striking my camera sensor that left there 15-20 minutes ago. And then in some cases, when I'm imaging, there's some star clusters that are several billion light years away. Think about it. That is a long way. Light travels around the Earth. If you had a flashlight and you were at the equator, and if you could follow the beam of light, it would go around the Earth 6.5 times in 1 second. That's the speed of light, and 186,000 miles per second. And since the Earth is about 24,000 miles at the equator, that's 6.5 times. So, if you could travel that fast, to go out to the star cluster, it might take you 3 billion years to get there. So, bring a lunch with you. Isn't that amazing? And there are Andromeda's about 1,500 light years away. It's our closest galaxy. It's often imaged. It was one of the first deep space objects ever imaged, but it would take you 1,500 years traveling at the speed of light to get to Andromeda. And it's close. The light that we're getting, though, from Saturn is reflection from the sun. Our sun is lighting up Saturn so that we can image it. Our star is an amazing star. I was having a good time this morning, and I did go live, so that video is on the YouTube channel. But I was enjoying looking at some remarkable flares and activity on the sun's surface that I'm going to put into a time lapse, and I think we'll see some cool movement on the surface. May not, but it looked like there was some good stuff going on. Scene's not really all that bad right now, which is surprising me, because we're really low in the sky. Let me bring up the planetarium software program, and we're in the southern meridian. Here's Saturn. We're click on Saturn. There you go. The altitude for Saturn is 28 degrees, so it's really low in the sky. Crazy low. So, wow. Okay, let's go back to not when you post, but Saturn. And let's see how many more we've got ahead of us. We're doing 20, and we've taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I'll probably throw this one away. So we have 10 down, 11 in the works, and we have 20 to go. Let me see where Jupiter is, and it's right behind it. Okay, here's Jupiter, and let's look at it's at 22 degrees. It's just right above my house. I wonder if I can see it from my observation camera. Let's try. No, this is still Saturn right up here. Jupiter hasn't gotten above my house yet. So this is the camera and telescope that's currently imaging Saturn. by the time we finish with this stack of or this series of stacks, Jupiter might be we might be able to go take a look at it. So let's head back to wow. That's a beautiful, beautiful planet. I think it's everybody's favorite. Mars has to be a close second. It may be that Jupiter is ahead of Mars, but there's something fascinating about Mars that one, it's a very similar terrain. While it's not a gas giant, it's not a gas planet. It has a surface like Earth does. And then Jupiter is huge. It's a big one. We're live imaging Saturn right now. We're going to be moving over to Jupiter shortly. Okie dokie. Okie dokie, okie dokie. While we're waiting, let's go process another one. Let's bring up RegiStacks and let's open one of these. We're seeing has gotten better. Let's open this one. And let's go ahead and clear. Let's scrub through. I sure don't like that. I use my arrow key. This isn't. Okay, just come back. Alright, I'll go with that one. Let's analyze it. This is not as good as the other one. You can see in the other image 75% of our individual frames were above the 50% line mark. In this one they're below. So we're going to only stack 25%, and that's a gracious plenty. Let's see what we got. We'll place the grid. I didn't need that one. We're going to go ahead and stack it. It's a good night. I am impressed with the scene so far, and I think it's just going to get better and better and better. Okay, we're finished with that. Let's bring up RegiStacks, and that was our last attempt. And we want to go with that. Wait a minute, wrong one. Wrong one. Let's go back. There we go. Nope. That's not nearly as good. Alright, let's show the full image. Now, let's go ahead and do an RGB balance. Auto balance. And that's fine. And let's go to histogram. And won't slide. There we go. Let's go back to there. Stretch it. That's too bright. Let's just leave it. I'm not going to save it anyway. Let's go to gamma. Let me make this curve just because it's too bright. Let's dumb this down some. And let's do too much here. Okay, let's go there. Let's change the flip the orientation and let's bring it about there. And a little more. That'll work for government work. And let's go to aggressive Saturn. Ooh, terrible. Look how noisy that is. Terrible, terrible, terrible. That's a classic example of too few frames and too much, and these wavelets are too aggressive. So, terrible. Terrible. We won't do all, we won't save. But, it is up there. I'm going to have to figure out, I guess what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and let this stack play out. I'm going to work on Jupiter. I'm going to wait till the scene gets better. I'm going to come back to Saturn because I want to get some good Saturns before the great red spot transits at about 11:30. And that's going to be my plan. I'm going to stay live for another 10 or 15 minutes, and I'm going to stay live until I go to Jupiter, and we'll take a look at Jupiter, and then I'm going to get these headset off because it is hot. We got some wicked hot weather in South Carolina, so I'm not complaining. We don't have the fires in California and the floods in the Northeast, so I can take the heat. Let's check and see how many this whole run's going to be probably not worth processing. We'll call it practice. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we'll have 4 more after this, and then we'll go see Jupiter. The reason why I'm going to need to go on and run up my gain so that I can lower my exposure, increase my frame rate. That's pretty much a must now, and because running at just 22 frames per second is that's not going to cut it. Now when I go to Jupiter, I'll double that, and I'm not sure why it's going so slow tonight. Probably because I got cloudless skies. It's always something. I hope you have cloudless skies in your neck of the woods. We are a minute 33 seconds left in this run. We're taking as many frames as we can capture at 22 frames a second for a 2-minute period. Last night we were getting about 60 frames per second. Go figure. Doing the same thing. I don't remember, I'm not real sure what our exposure and gain was set up last night. I'll go back and look at my video and find that out, but I can create a smaller capture area. Right now I'm using kind of a, I'll do that. I'll make a smaller capture area, and the less geography that you have to capture, the faster your frame rate. So I can improve it some there. Oh ho ho. I stayed up late last night. I didn't stay up late imaging. I stopped about when the clouds came in, about 1 o'clock, but I stayed up later working on football pictures, and I'm still not done. I've got more football pictures to work on. There they are, and I got to come back and get those uploaded to the internet. And okay, here we go. Yeah, the scene's gotten a lot better. I'm gonna do something I probably should have done earlier. Might as well go ahead and get it started. I'm gonna bring up my focuser and connect. Wrong port. Let's go to 9 because it's my only other choice. And connect. There we go. Should never focus while you're doing imaging, but I'm going to go ahead and bump this up 10. I'm going to zoom in just a little. Let's go to 200%. And let's bring up my focuser again. Actually, what I need to do is just forget this right now. As soon as the imaging is over with, I need to lower my gain and raise my exposure so that I have a pretty noise-free image just for focusing, and then get my focus right. But with all the noise, it's hard to tell whether you've got a correct focus pointer or not. And when the scene conditions are changing, you have a fuzzy image, then you have a sharper image, and then you have an in-between image, and it just keeps undulating. But I think we're sharper here. Yeah. This has an algorithm that's used to assist you in your focusing, and I like to use the Fourier detail. No, I don't. I like to use the I like to use the Fourier detail. You can bring your box down and then you can adjust your focus. These are the individual frames that are coming in right now. Go ahead and go to sleep. Outside telescope's wanting to go to sleep. Okay, now scene's changed and it's gotten horrible. So nothing's happened. I haven't changed the focus or anything. It's just the scene has changed, and so it's not as good. There, see, you got a little better than. That's the way it is. But I really, I'm better off with the planets. Just you can try the contrast too. It's another. Needless to say, it doesn't think we're in focus, and we may not be. Let's see, we're still capturing frames, and we ought to get close. We ought to be close to finishing up this run. So we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. This is the last one. So when this one completes, we're going to head over to Jupiter, and I should have left the outside telescopes on. Let's turn them on. And I don't see Jupiter. Usually I can see Jupiter here. Saturn's already gotten higher in the sky. By high, I don't mean real high, probably 31, 32 degrees altitude. And Jupiter's probably somewhere around 25 degrees. Let's look and see where Jupiter is. Jupiter is 25. And I'm going to go back and try to okay, we're about to finish this one, and let me go back to auto, and we have finished. Okay, that runs over. So let's stop guiding, put an end to that, and let's bring up our planetarium software, and here comes the moon. It's getting ready to move across the ecliptic. Let's go up here and click on Jupiter. And let's slew to Jupiter. Let's see if our telescopes are moving. There it goes. Okay. Let's bring up and let's start guiding. There's Jupiter up there, and we're going to need to bring it down. So let me get my hand controller, which is virtual. I use EQSCOM, and let's try going 2 times sidereal, and let's go down here to let's say half a second. Take an image every half a second so we can center this. I want to put Jupiter about right there in the crosshairs. I think west is going to take me, there you go, and then north's going to take me, no, south's going to take me down. I just use the guide camera as a, it's like a finder scope. since I'm not outside, I don't even use finder scopes anymore. I don't have them on my optical trains. Now let's try west. Let's see if we're close. And let's increase this to say, and there's Jupiter. We can bring this down a bunch. And let's get our hand controller back out. And let's move. Let's see, we want to go south and west. Let's bring up our reticle. And we just take a single crosshair and then let's center it. We want to go east a little bit. Let's take 1 time sidereal now. Okay, that's good. Let's go to PhD. Let's stop. Let's start looping. Let's clear everything from our last run. And let's find a guide scar. Let's found one. And let's start guiding. And let's move the guide. Let's take 2 frames per second. And the mount can go to sleep, or the outside surveillance camera can now go to sleep. So let's go back to Sharp Cap and let's adjust our gain. Let's see, we're now at 71 frames per second. So let's take our, let's try going to, okay, we're at 488. Let's move there, and let's take our gain down to 300, and let's bring our exposure up to about there. I can do that. Okay, and now let's actually, I want to change this to back to 480. Yeah. All right. We're going to do this a little bit differently. Jupiter rotates faster than Saturn, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to Start Capture, and we're only going to take what we can. In 1 minute. No, I'll tell you what. Let's go back to 2 minutes, and let's do another run of 20. And we're going to perform a series, and let's go ahead and kick it off. So we're off and running, capturing at 57 frames per second. So I'm going to guess we're going to get about 4,500 frames in 2 minutes. Maybe 5,000 frames in 2 minutes. We're going to process one of these, and then I'm going to say goodnight to you guys, and I will continue imaging. But we'll take this first run, and we'll take the first AVI file and run it through Stackard and RegiStacks and see if we have anything worth shouting about. Scene's looking better. As soon as I said that, lost some clarity. You know what I forgot to do. I should stop the whole thing. Dad, burn it. I forgot to lower the gain and raise everything and then start sharpening this, but Dad, burn it. Well, I'm going to be taking more, so after this run of 20, I'll do it again. I need to make a mental note to do that. Although I think I have it sharpened is probably as good as I'm going to be able to get it from past experience. This is not my thing. I'm not a very good planetary imager, and I'm not a good processor. I just haven't done enough of it, and I don't do much of it. After the next couple of weeks, I probably will stop doing planetary imaging altogether and I'll take that telescope off, or I'll add the hyperstar to it, but I'll probably take that telescope off and have 2 wide field systems and just go deep for nebula and galaxies. That's where my heart lies. But these are fun. And thanks to Josh Palmer with Roper Mountain Astronomy, and Alan Hill with Roper Mountain Astronomy, and all the people there that contribute to a Discord page that we go to. I've learned a great deal from them, and already I can tell you that the solar images that I'm getting from Jupiter and Saturn are a lot better than what I was taking last year at this time. But Josh, the method by which Josh captures data is the evidence is in the output, and my goodness, he takes such spectacular pictures. So I don't know that with the telescope optics that I have that I'll ever be able to render that much detail, but it's as good as I probably personally will be able to accomplish with what I know and my equipment. Okay, we are actually close to 6,000 frames on this run, and we have 16 seconds left, so at 57 frames per second, we're coming down to pretty close to 6,800 frames, 6,900 frames. So let's open up Auto Stackard, and let's go down here and find Jupiter. It's got to be this one right here, and let's clear this out. I don't think I'm going to scrub through. I think I'm just going to use that one. It looks fine. Xavier's joined us. Glad to have you there. He's been actually watching this all night. And okay, we're done running this, and roughly 40% of these frames are going to be acceptable. So let's take 35%. Let's go over here and place a grid, which is alignment points, and then let's stack. We are live imaging Jupiter, and while we're live imaging, we're also taking a look at some of the data that's been taken up to date, and see if we have something to work with. The scene conditions have gotten better. in the last hour, and it's just 10:30. At 11:30, the great red spot's going to show up, and I'll stay up to get a run of those. Then I'll probably cover the scope and call it a day. I got another big day tomorrow. I shoot sport pictures during the day, and if I have stamina enough, I stay up and clear skies, and I do astro imaging during the night. Okay, we're actually stacking. I said there were about 7,000 frames, and we're going to keep about 2,500 frames, 35% of 7,000. So we're going to keep about 2,500 frames, which is a gracious plenty. And that's the reason why this one's taking longer. We've got 884. We've got 3 times as many frames that we're running through Auto Stackard right now than we did with Saturn. We're going to improve Saturn though with the scene conditions. Number one, that'll be the biggest reason we'll improve it, but I'm also going to run the gain all the way up to probably 350, which kills me to do that, so that I can lower the exposure. And I'm also going to create a much smaller region of interest, and I think I can at least raise the frame rate, double it maybe to 40. And if I can start stacking 5,000 to 6,000 frames of Saturn in a 2-minute period, then that's good. I think I'll be okay. We're still stacking. Once the stacking phase has happened, map analysis and map recombination go real quick. So if you end up watching this video at a later date, please consider liking it, and I would appreciate it. It just tells me that you like it and tells me that I ought to do more. And if you subscribe, I'm 99% sure, I'm not positive, but if you subscribe, I think you're notified if I do another video, and can join me if you are bored to death watching TV. Alright, we're done here, so let's put that to sleep. And I'll stop talking, and we're going to bring up Registacks. And let's go to select, and we're going to go to, we want to go now to 35 and bring up this. Nope. And we're going to run a RGB balance, auto balance. That works. We're going to flip and rotate this the other way. Nope. Okay, I'm going to do this to 306, so I'll remember it, and I'll do all the other Jupiters at 306. Okay, and we'll put that to sleep. I'm going to bring up the histogram and brighten it just a tad, not a lot, but let's Let's see where that did anything. Let's go to gamma, apply a curve, and I'm going to right click here, and it'll bring up my last curve. I'm going to reset it. I'm going to right click here and right click there, and we're going to add slight brightness to the highlights, to the brights, and we're going to add a contrast curve. Okay, that works. And so let's load Jupiter scheme. Let's click on do all. And there we go, folks. Not real sharp. And noisy. But it's, as I mentioned earlier, it's a whole lot better than what I was doing last year at this time when I was imaging planets. So let's put this to sleep. We are still very much in the data collecting business as Jupiter's clicking along at close to 60 frames per second. I'm not sure how many Jupiters we've taken so far, but we can take a look-see, and we'll go to planets for today and capture. And so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and whatever's left on this one. This one's a new. Just started this one. So we have 7 completed Jupiter AVI files that are running around 7,000 frames. And again, due to rotation, I'll take about 4 of them. That'll be 2, 4, 6, 8 minutes worth of Jupiter, and I'll derotate them into one stacked image. Maybe I'll get a little better image than I got on that individual stack. We'll find out, but I won't be working with that until I don't know when I'm going to have a chance to work on it. Probably not tonight, for sure. I'll finish this up and retire, and then up early in the morning and out and about. Okay, folks, I think it's probably a good time to say goodnight to everybody. And Xavier, I want to thank you for watching, and to everyone else that ends up stumbling on this video and watching it, I hope you enjoyed it and consider liking it. And subscribe to the channel, and you'll be notified the next time I do one of these, which is every night that I have clear skies. So with that being said, find something good to say about somebody today and tomorrow, and have a great evening.